What is going on, guys? Hope you guys are doing well. Back on Battlefield 5 today, here to share with you guys some more gameplay. This time I'm on the Scout class. So I had a chance to try out a little bit of this class at the very end of my trial period of BF5. Got the Kar 98 equipped, which was the only rifle available for us during this alpha testing. So had a pretty good time trying it out for the limited amount of time I had a chance to equip this class. Want to talk about just the basics of the class and some of the big changes that are coming to it. The biggest change, in my opinion, is the elimination of the sweet spot to the Scout class. So no longer can you get those one-hit kills unless you're getting headshots against your opponent. But it is interesting to note that there is a bit of a buff to the hitbox for those headshots. So they have been enlarged a little bit. And initially, when I was experiencing that on the other end of the Kar 98 rifle, playing as the assault class or the medic class, I was initially thinking that possibly the hitbox was a little bit too large. But after having situations like this, where I'm going to assume I'm just not really good with the sniper rifle right now. It made me kind of tone it down a little bit. So I'm kind of on the fence right now whether or not the hitbox is too large or if it's not, because, you know, your opinion can change, you know, when you're on the other end of the rifle and you're just completely missing, and you might think that, man, maybe they need to enlarge the hitbox a little bit more. So I'm on the fence about it. You guys will have to make up your mind if you guys think the hitbox is too large. Right now it kind of seems like it balances itself out by taking out the sweet spot mechanic and then just enlarging that hitbox a little bit for those headshots. Now in this build there were no suppression available on the battlefield, so there is suppression going to be returning to Battlefield 5, but it will be a bit different in the sense where it won't affect where your bullets go, but I think they're leaning on it to being visual. I say think because I'm not quite sure, and I don't think even DICE is quite sure what they're going to do with suppression yet. I do think they're leaning on the visual obstruction that suppression will do to you, so it will be harder for you to see the enemy player that you're shooting at, but it won't affect where your bullets go. So I think that's kind of the big important thing that everyone was kind of, at least a lot of people kind of stressed about, that they didn't like how it affected where your bullets went. But it seems to be where they're going with suppression. So in this build, that wasn't there. Maybe we'll find more about that in the open beta, and that might sway my opinions more on how I feel the hitbox is like and how the headshots are going. Because when I was on the other end of this rifle, it felt like I was getting headshot at left and right, but then you pick up the rifle and you can't get a headshot to save your life. So it is interesting. Again, that's why I always advocate probably to, you know, try out different classes before, you know, you really prejudge things and, you know, kind of see things from other lens instead of kind of looking through things through your narrow box. It's kind of the better way to go, in my opinion. So now I do have some familiar gadgets equipped to the Scout class. We're seeing the flare gun returning, which has caused a little bit of issues with some people with the ability of how well it's spotting players across the map. So we could see changes to that in the near future. We do have the, what I want to say is the Monocular on the other gadget, as I don't think it's a periscope and it doesn't have two lenses on it, so it wouldn't be considered a binocular. So it's just another scope for a gadget that does allow you to 3D spot enemy players. So I do think that is where DICE is going here with some of these gadgets, especially with the Scout class, and we'll have the ability for those gadgets to spot enemy players. If you guys don't know, spotting has been removed on the battlefield, so you won't be able just to run up and spot enemy players. As of right now, the only way to do that is to suppress your enemy or to use the Monocular that this Scout class has equipped. So I would imagine that's what they're going to do a little bit with the Scout class, which in my opinion kind of makes sense for that role. I'm not sure how well it will be to balancing the game, but I could kind of see this coming way back in our last DLC for BF1, when we saw the spotting pigeon being tested on the CTE, that new gadget that didn't quite make it to the base version of Battlefield 1. but if you guys try it on the CT, it was a pretty cool gadget, and it did allow you to spot enemy players on the battlefield. So that's why I think, knowing at that time DICE was aware that they were going to bring out a World War II game, and they already knew what they were going to reveal for us in May, I'm pretty certain that we'll probably see more spotting devices that you can grind out to unlock in BF5. So again, even though we're seeing a lot of similar gadgets and items, expect a much deeper level to what they mean to you on the battlefield. It's going to be much more immersed, even though on the surface layer it looks very similar. We're seeing similar gadgets again, you know, similar type of classes, but the deeper you get into it and progress into Battlefield 5, the more you're going to find out it's really a completely separate game. So, going to have a nice little setup right here, though, and be able to take out a couple guys, which was get a little bit of a rhythm with the rifle after my pretty, you know, terrible blunder of missing enemy players there earlier. Even though I wasn't able to finish off that final player, it's moments like these that make you understand why people like playing Scout class so much. When you get in those headshots left and right, it's so enjoyable. So yeah, definitely understand why people like the Scout class so much. Not quite sure if I'm going to get on it initially when BF5 rolls out. I've made mention of this before on my channel that I'm looking forward to the medic class mostly, but we'll see what happens. This was a class I did try out a little bit during BF1 when it first started, but then graduated over to the assault class more, as of course going to bring in a little bit of some V1 rocket gameplay. Unfortunately, I'm only going to get one kill with the V1 rocket. I thought because we had D and they had B, maybe they get stuck in between D and B. Kind of see my logic there, but it obviously didn't play out too well. But nice thing about the V1 rocket, man, even when you miss it, it just feels really satisfying seeing the explosions and everything. So I don't know, but I'm gonna make the unfortunate mistake from here and get myself caught in no man's land. This is like a dead man's zone. If you try playing Narvik and you get on this map, if it stays anywhere near how it is in the alpha testing with the layout, watch out in between that zone right there. That's just like a kill zone completely. So but that was basically a little bit of a run through for you guys for the Scout class. I'm going to finish up a couple more headshots from here. People were posting up on the very top of these broken down buildings, where I thought was pretty interesting, especially seeing it just completely, you know, desolated where these buildings were at, and they were trying to build up there, and you know, it's pretty interesting stuff that was going on. But feel free to let me know your guys' thoughts on the Scout gameplay. How do you feel about the hitbox and the sweet spot changes? Alongside, let me know how you feel about the gadgets. Again, with still the theme of the spotting and 3D spotting that's going around, and it seems to be leaning pretty heavily on the Scout class at least. So you'll probably see more 3D spotting in the game, probably contributed to the gadgets that will be coming out for the Scout class. So it'll be interesting to hear you guys' thoughts down below. But that is it for you guys today. Again, I always appreciate you guys being here. I am Livin', and I'll catch you guys again later.